PMP exam perspective. So as I said, as from July of this year, the pattern of the exam is going to change slightly. When I say slightly, it's not going to be a massive change in the number of questions that we are attempting. So in today's world, if you're going to go and sit for the PMP exams, you take about 180 questions in 240 minutes. In the newer world, it's going to be 185 questions. So it's not going to be a massive change. What happens though behind the scenes is out of those 180 questions which you uh, attempt in today's world, 175 questions is what you actually get assessed on. So that 180 is broken up into 175 plus 5. So the actual assessment happens on 175, and then the 5 questions are more like a research type questions which the PMI uses to evaluate what is the kind of response rate. Is it a very easy question because everyone is answering it correctly? Is it a very difficult question because everyone is answering it wrongly? So all of those assessments and decision points are made for those 5 questions. In the new world, the 185 is now going to look like 175 plus 10. So your number of questions on which you will be assessed still remains 175. That doesn't change. But the number of questions on which PMI is going to make all these decision points is going to increase from 5 to 10. The trick though is we as exam takers, we don't have an idea of which those 5 or 10 questions are. So when we attempt our exam, all of it has to be like 185 is my final set of questions. So that is what we will be attempting. The other big change, and to me that is a good change, is around the breakup of the questions in each of the 3 domains. So if you look at the domains, what PMI has done, particularly for the PMP exam, is the 185 questions are divided into people, process, and business. So, originally, as in today's world, the number of questions from people were 42. That 42 has now been dropped to 33 as of 1st of July. Similarly, process, the number of process domain related questions will drop from 50 to 41. And guess where it'll kind of add is the business environment or the business acumen domain. In today's world, only 8% of those questions were related to the business type scenarios. In the new world, that goes very high to 26%. So from 8, it shoots about more than 3 times to 26%. The advantage for us as exam takers is the business related questions are very, very straightforward. I mean, if you compare it with people or process related questions, if you have a clear objective of what you want to achieve based on the given scenario or situation of the question, you can't go wrong, or the chance of going wrong in a business type question is pretty less. So that's the advantage that we will have as exam takers. There are also 1 or 2 new type of questions, I would say, which PMI is trying to introduce. One is a case study type of question. So what I mean by case study is they will give you a scenario, and then there will be about 5 or 6 or maybe even 8 questions which are related to that particular scenario only. So there could be a maybe 1 or 2 case studies that you get. In the current version, we do have case study type questions, but the number of questions related to a particular case study is not as high as 8. Maybe it could be 1 or 2 or 3 at the most, but that could slightly go high, maybe to anywhere between 5 and 8. So that's one change that they have done. The other change which they are sharing is uh, almost all the questions will be scenario based, which still is the case even today. But now what they're emphasizing is everything is going to be scenario based and example based. So if you are extremely lucky on the day of your exam, only then you could get maybe a defined kind of a question, obviously related to a particular scenario. But again, it depends on which day and time you book the exam and all of that. But again, that is something which is beyond us, let's be honest. So um, at the end of the day, all of the questions are going to be scenario based, and as I said, there will be case study type questions which PMI is going to introduce. Those to me are the big changes from an exam pattern kind of perspective. And then uh, at a high level, what they're saying is a lot of questions will be related to, how you make decisions as a leader of the group, or there could be multiple questions where agile is obviously going to be there. More than half of the questions are agile even today, so that's not the change. But it will cover a lot of scenarios between agile and hybrid, or agile and predictive, but agile is going to be the central key in a way. There will be a lot of questions around how do we deal with people, back to the people domain. It will be slightly a better version of interactive type questions. What I mean by interactive is there will be a particular scenario given, and based on that, you will be asked to comment on what a CPI, SPI, or CVSP could look like. And then they will try and mimic some of the examples that we have seen around us. So they won't take names directly, but obviously, once you read through the scenario, it's pretty obvious for us to find out what exactly these guys are talking about. So these are some of the type of changes that we could expect once the exam switches to the new mode as from 1st of July, and the exam is going to be aligned to the project management body of knowledge version 8. So that's how uh, the the PMBOK 8 and the new exam pattern will be put in place. Let me take a look if there are any questions related to the PMP exam or any question on the exams. Okay, nope. So we are good. So those are more from an exam changes point of view. Again, as I said, even though the number of questions between people, process, and business have changed, that to me is not going to have a huge impact on the way we prepare ourselves or the way we are going to go through the material and all of that. At the end of the day, preparation is still going to be the key. The number of questions that you answer during your preparation period is still going to be the key. So those fundamentals, basics still remain the same. If you look at the change from a workshop, the PMP workshop point of view, uh, maybe I can say that in the earlier version or today's version, we had about 6 chapters in a certain fashion. Those 6 chapters are now going to be broken into 12 chapters. The order of the content could be slightly changed. There's not a massive cut down or massive introduction of any new concepts as such. I would say 90-95% of it is by and large the same. But as I said, from 6 chapters to 12 lessons, they have changed the sequencing of activities, or the way in which they are going to carry out different knowledge areas from start to end could change. That's something that will be slightly different than what we have in today's world. So those are more, to me, more kind of cosmetic type of changes. Nothing much at a foundation level or a concept level, or any impact from a preparation point of view. So that still pretty much remains the same. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it purely from a number of questions and the time that we used to get. So in today's world, it was 180 questions to 40 minutes. Now it's going to be 185 to 40 minutes. That's the new change. And what I mean with the new ECO is, because the people, process, and domain type of questions, or the percentage of those questions have changed, that is now being mapped to a new examination content outline, the ECO document that they have introduced as from January of 2026. So if you want to take a look, just go to pmi.org, log in with your credentials, and then download the ECO. ECO is a free document which is available for all. You do not need to be a member of PMI if you have to download the ECO document.